Hello, seniors. It's Miss VB. I teach art, and I'm here representing the whole visual art department with an exciting opportunity we want to tell you about as it pertains to your senior capstone project. So you may or you may not know this, but there is a required visual element for your senior capstone project. And what we've realized in the art department is that a lot of seniors who've already taken an art class, who no longer need art to graduate, end up letting their art class that they might have as a senior fall to the wayside. They might not turn things in because you get so overwhelmed with your capstone projects and all of the work that you have to do to graduate as a senior. We don't want you to fail art, though, even if you don't need it to graduate. We want to maintain your GPAs and make sure that you get through all of your classes with a passing grade. So our idea was to take that required visual element that you need in order to complete your capstone project and use that for art credit. It's kind of like, what's the phrase? Hitting two birds with one stone. So let me show you. The 3 learning targets for this assignment. So you will do this assignment for your senior capstone, and you will also receive credit for it in your art class, preventing you from failing. The 3 learning targets for this assignment are planning, craftsmanship, and expression. And don't worry, you will have your own copy of this PowerPoint to look back on so you can look at the rubric whenever you need to. In order to get a 4 in planning, you need to provide us with evidence that you can do it by making a bubble map, a word idea list, and creating rough sketches. I'll show you and talk a little bit more about that in a moment here. The second learning target is craftsmanship, which we need to see in the art department evidence of your craftsmanship by your ability to create a finished and well-produced piece of artwork. We want to see that you can complete the artwork fully, that you took your time and you put effort into the artwork by using the full space of the paper. That's really important. And that you include all the finishing touches. No eraser marks, no tears, no rips, no accidental marks on the artwork itself. And the third learning target is expression. We want to be able to see that you can personally express yourself through effective imagery, planning, and execution of your ideas, your beliefs, or your emotions as they pertain to your social issue senior capstone project. In order to get a 4 in this learning target, you have to show a strong connection between the ideas, beliefs, or emotions from your planning stage to your final artwork. Your imagery should be symbolic, not literal, and the meaning should be clear. I'm going to go into the differences between symbolism and literal imagery here in a moment. Why are we doing this? We're doing this so that you can demonstrate your understanding and improve your grade in art, as well as in the class that you're finishing your senior capstone project in. We want you to do well in both. We don't want you to feel like you have to choose the senior capstone project over passing art. We want you to be able to pass art as well. So we are allowing you to take that required visual component that you have to do anyways for your senior capstone project. We're telling you what to do for that visual component so that we can also provide you with a grade in art. So it shouldn't be any extra work for you. You just have to put in a little bit more time and effort into that visual component. Let's look at some examples of what you can do for the visual component as it pertains to your social issue senior capstone project. You can use colored pencil. You can use mixed media, where you use colored pencil and magazine collage. I want you to all notice, do you see how the entire space was used in each example? And do you also see how imagery was used? So in the image on the left, instead of saying anything as it pertains to gun violence or war or games, they just used the symbol of a gun and the symbol of a game controller. And if you look at the image on the right, instead of being a literal image of somebody starving or of kind of the imbalance in wealth inequality, they just show that through symbols of a group and of offering. Let's look at the next image, an example of what you can do. Do you see the painting on the left? You're more than welcome to use any sort of paint, oil, acrylic, or watercolor, or you could use oil pastel, like the image on the right. Notice the symbols that are used. So to represent social anxiety, the student used birds and cages. So one bird is free, the bird that doesn't experience the social anxiety, while the bird who's in the cage experiences this type of social anxiety, and it's hard for them to feel any sense of freedom when they go out publicly. That's a symbol. So instead of just putting words on the paper that say social anxiety, they've created symbols to represent that. And if you look at the right, you'll see that instead of a person doing a literal burning flag, this artist, this student, chose to represent a flag as a body that's burning, which is a symbol for their social issue project. Let's look at some other examples here. Look at the symbols and look at how the entire space of the paper was fully used. So you could do a pencil, magazine, and newspaper collage if you wanted. You could do colored pencil and normal pencil. So if you look at the image on the right, instead of them saying that urbanization and deforestation are kind of killing the natural world and that's caused by man, instead of them like writing that out, they use symbols of skulls going from ape to man with the city in the background and nature in the background. So those are excellent symbols to use to represent an idea. And that's what we're going to be looking for. If you look at these political cartoons, you'll see how good these artists are at using symbolism. So if you look at the image on the top, it's a bottle of alcohol with a cross through it. That is very, very literal. That doesn't show much imagination or creativity, and it kind of hits the audience over the head with this idea of what the artist is trying to say. It doesn't ask them to figure it out on their own. But if you look at the images down below, you'll see that these highly skilled artists who are great with symbolism, which is typical of political cartoons, were able to use an image of a magnifying glass and an eyeball to represent a symbol of employers and schools and how they're always watching your digital life, your digital footprint. So instead of it being a literal representation of how Facebook might be spying on you or how employers can use social media to kind of get a deeper look into your life, all the artist had to do was use a magnifying glass, because we as the viewer understand that anything that's under a magnifying glass is being watched closely. That's an excellent example of how symbolism was used. Let's look at the steps now. There's 3 steps. So step number 1 is planning. To plan a good idea, we're going to ask that you create a bubble map, that you identify the symbols, and that you sketch out your ideas. Now, you might have already done the planning because this is your senior capstone project. So you might have already created a bubble map. You might have already created a list. However, if you haven't, then I want you to fill this in for us so we as your art teachers can see that you put some planning into this. So we want you to create a bubble map that looks like this. In the center, I want it to say social issue. And then you're going to branch 6 little branches off here where it says you, friend or family, school or neighborhood, city, nation, and world. And everybody should look like this. And then from here, you are going to brainstorm the social issue that matters to you, the ones that matter to your friends and family, ones that pertain to your school or your neighborhood, social issues that pertain to your city, social issues that pertain to the nation, and social issues that pertain to the world. And once you have that figured out, you are going to identify the symbols that pertain to the ideas that you like best. So if you really liked the mental health idea, you're going to list it. And you're going to list the symbols, like you see here on the right, of things that could represent mental health. So instead of literally saying mental health and creating some sort of a PowerPoint, you're going to use symbolism to show us mental health. Something like a brain or a heart. You could show us mental health through using the opposite of the symbol, like a healthy person versus a broken brain. Let's say you like the idea of war. Some symbols for war could be a bomb or a gun. It could be tears. You could create opposite contrast there if you use like a dove or flowers next to guns and bombs. That's symbolism, and that's what we're looking for. Then, just like in all of your art classes for all of time, you're going to create some sketches. So we want to see that you can sketch your ideas out before you go on to creating your final piece of artwork. So you're just going to be sketching your ideas here. You'll be submitting this with everything at the end. Step 2, you're going to create your work. So 1, your plan, plus 2, your excellent craftsmanship. You're using up the space of the paper. You figured out if you want to do a painting or oil pastel, pencil, pen, marker, if you want to do charcoal, really any art material, a collage. And you're using your craftsmanship to take up the whole space. You're putting in the effort and you're using your skills. Plus your expression. You're going to tell us your ideas through symbolic imagery. So if your plan plus your craftsmanship plus your expression equals great artwork, you'll receive an excellent grade in art, as well as do a killer job on your senior capstone project with that visual component that they're looking for. And then step 3, last but not least, you're going to turn it in with your capstone project. This is the visual component that's required by your English teacher. This gives your art teacher the evidence they need to give you a grade in your art class, and it also gives your English teacher the evidence that they need to give you credit for the required visual component of your senior capstone project. In this way, we hope to be able to get any senior who feels overwhelmed by having what they might feel like is an art class that they don't need because they took one maybe their freshman, sophomore, or junior year. We're trying to make sure that you still pass and that you still end high school with a success and the highest GPA possible. So you don't have to feel like failing art is the only way to relieve yourself of this work. We're willing to take this required visual component that you need to do anyways and take some of the evidence that we can collect to give you credit for art in our art class. So we're hoping that you not only do better on your senior capstone project, but also that you preserve your grade in art. And if you have any questions, ask your art teacher. We are here to help you. This 2-dimensional project counts for ceramics, photo, drawing and painting, and art. So you should be covered in any of the art classes that you're taking. So hopefully you'll be able to make it through your senior year with a great grade. We're here to support you. We know you can do it. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask us for anything that you might need. Good luck, seniors. You got this, and I can't wait to see you on graduation day.